All right, girls, so now that we have had some fun outside, gotten some wiggles out, I want to go over our timeline with you. So remember, this is just interesting facts and fun things that happened during the 50s here in America. Okay, so as we come into the 1950s, in the year 1950, was when the Korean War began. And a lot of your grandpas may have even fought in this. America's military budget and resources were still really depleted because of World War II. But this war was between North and South Korea. We were allies and still are allies with South Korea, and we came to their defense when they were invaded by North Korea. Then we moved down to 1953, and color television is invented. I betcha a lot of your grandparents would remember when this happened and would remember having a black and white TV instead of a color TV. Then we move on to 1954, and this is when Brown versus Board of Education was argued and passed in the Supreme Court. It allowed for the desegregation of schools, which means that prior to this, Black children and white children had to go to separate schools. They were not allowed to go to school together. And after this decision in our Supreme Court, schools were what we call integrated, so that they were allowed to, Black children and white children were allowed to go to school together. Then we get to 1954, and McDonald's opens its first restaurant out in California. So it wasn't super popular when it first opened. Of course, this is very different today. Then we get to 1955, and Walt Disney World, also in California, opens. Again, something that is super popular today. Several of you have been there. So Walt Disney World. Move down to 1958, and we have the first passenger airline flight that took passengers from New York to California, and kind of brought in a new age of travel in the United States. Prior to this, if you were going to go somewhere, you were going to drive. And then 1959, if you haven't watched our story yet about Hidden Figures, watch that. But this is when the team, they're called the Mercury 7, was announced. They were the 7 astronauts that were chosen to be in the team of men who were going to try to be the first ones to orbit the Earth or go around the Earth in outer space as part of NASA's space program. So those are just some fun facts about the 50s. I hope that is interesting and informative.